This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Srinivas Krishna founded a company to develop augmented reality technologies for mobile devices in 2012. Based on his background as a filmmaker, their location-aware VR platform is currently being used to launch one of the world's largest out-of-home VR experiences at the 9-acre Fort York National Historic Site in downtown Toronto. Prior to AWE, Srinivas produced and directed feature films that have premiered at Toronto, Sundance, and Cannes. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Larry.
How would you describe the AWE company?
I thought you did a really good job. It's a company of developers, designers, makers, technologists, strategists working together to create just new kinds of experiences for mobile devices for the user on the go.
What was it that first got you interested in virtual reality?
You know, when smartphones came out with cameras, the iPhone, I was producing a bunch of movies for the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, and there was a whole mobile component to it, and there was a whole team that was building these. They were doing something with our movies. And I finally found out what, and I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Well, we're trying to get these movies to play on mobile phones and geolocate them." I mean, this was 2010. If you imagine, in those days, it was tough to do, you know, and how things have changed. Anyway, when I said, "Well, show me one of these phones," and I saw it, and I thought, this is not a phone. You know, this is a video camera with a computer with a pretty good screen and more, you know, connected to the internet. This is really meant to do something else. And I started investigating it, and I got it on my brain, and I couldn't get it off. And finally, I just started the company.
Well, how would you, we're going to talk about the Fort York project in a second, but one more sort of background piece. How would you describe the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality?
That's a great question. Virtual reality is a complete virtual environment that's delivered on a computer. I mean, it's just an artificial environment. That's the simplest way to define it. Augmented reality is the other side of the spectrum, or it's halfway through pure reality and virtual reality. If virtual reality is a completely artificial environment, then augmented reality is digital content, virtual content, placed in the real world through the camera on your device. So when you look through the camera at the world, you see digital content inside that world. So in a sense, it's augmenting, you know, reality.
Well, before we talk with you about the Fort York National Historic Site project, we took a video from your website, and I want to share that with the audience so they get a sense of what it was that you do for that project.
One of the key challenges we have on site here at Fort York is giving people a better sense of the original context. The fact that this was a fort constructed over 200 years ago on the original Lake Ontario shoreline. One of the wonderful things about the virtual reality experience is it will allow us to bring that original context back to the site.
Our technology brings a location to life through storytelling. And for that reason, it's perfect for a historical site like Fort York, where there are so many stories that are part and parcel of the physical environment of the artifacts. And we allow that to be represented in a completely immersive way.
When we were first approached with the virtual reality experience and applying these new technologies on a site like Fort York, I definitely saw the opportunity off the top. It was really exciting, a great team with Krishna and others to work with. It's really played out in the way we expected it would.
It's for us an opportunity to bring a new form of storytelling to the world, and we feel like it's one that is really personal, in the sense that you can experience it wherever you are, using nothing more than really your smartphone.
I'm really looking forward to talking with you about this, but before we talk about the specific project, what is it that makes the fort so historic?
The fort was where Toronto started about 250 years ago. It was founded, they cleared the forest, a British contingent, and they set up camp there, and they named it, in fact, it was called Toronto, they named it York, and then it became Toronto many years later, but that's where Toronto really began, and the city grew up around it.
So what did
it still remains there in downtown Toronto. It's a 9-acre site. It's not really, I mean, it's not a military site anymore, but yeah.
What did the fort ask you to do?
Well, we built a small prototype inside a building called the Block House, which is the oldest building still standing in Toronto. It's a defensive building on the fort. And that was a mixed reality, meaning it was an augmented reality drama with digital characters inside a room. And it was pretty groundbreaking. I mean, there were 5 users looking through iPads at these characters, and the characters knew you were in the room. And they saw it and they thought, wow, this is really amazing. Do you want to build a kind of visitor experience for us? And I said, sure, it sounds like a great idea. And we spent some time talking about it. And, the site, if you go there, you'll see that it's, in fact, in that video, you'll see that it's surrounded by skyscrapers, condos, an elevated highway. It doesn't look like it belongs in history. It's really eclipsed by its environment. So they said, we'd like to see different moments in the story of this site and the story of the city recreated at different places on the grounds. And it turned out to be 8 different moments in time, all delivered on a mobile device without internet connections for about 150,000 people. And I thought, surely this is probably the most difficult, stupidest thing I would ever do if I were to take it on. No one's ever done anything like this before. So we took it on.
Well, if we look at the fort, if we look at a map of the fort, we see that there's 8 different locations. Describe briefly what some of the typical scenes would be at these locations.
Well, one of the scenes that you would see is the founding of the fort by Governor Simcoe, and that's the cannon fire, the 21-gun salute that happened when he founded the fort. And it's actually the moment when the fort was founded in 1793. You see the Battle of York, a cannon crew firing at American ships when the American forces invaded the town of York. It was a battle between the United States of America just after the Revolution and Great Britain that was fought on this land. You'll see the first railroad coming to Toronto, and the dredging of the land, or the reclamation of the land from the lake. You'll see the construction of the elevated highway. It's 200 years of history, and you walk through different landscapes and you come upon these scenes where they suddenly come to life as you come upon them, and a whole drama unfolds. It's pretty spectacular.
Well, let's take a look. We've got some production shots, and I want to go to this first one where an actor is being fitted with a headset that looks like there's a flashlight on top. What's going on here?
Okay. So it was the production of this experience. I mean, it had never been done, so we really had to do some hardcore invention. And we thought, this is basically like a video game on some level. We're using a game engine to create the experience. So we scanned actors. We did facial capture and recorded their performances if they were speaking or reacting. And then we captured their performances using a really wonderful technology called iPiSoft, or iPiMocap by a company called iPiSoft. And so essentially it was a pipeline that we built in the studio that we took over for about a week, where we'd run actors through, the scans, the facial captures, and then the motion capture. And that headset that you see, are really flashlights with ping pong balls attached to their heads. It's like fitted onto a baseball cap, essentially. That's to track the motion of their heads as they move.
Now, as they were moving, how were you recording them?
We were using, I think, about 16, maybe 21 PlayStation cameras that were spaced around the studio. And that was pretty much it, and I've got those cameras fed into the software on our computers, and it captured their motions.
Well, I've got a screenshot of a browser, looks like a browser, and there's 6 images inside it. What are we looking at with these 6 images?
You're looking at 6 of the different camera views of that actor acting out. I think that view might be one of the soldiers, from that cannon scene where they're carrying a cannonball. It's probably what he's about to do, or something like that. And that's the action that you're seeing.
Okay, so now let's marry what the actors did in the motion capture studio with the images that you've created. Here is a picture of the cannon being fired. Where do your actors fit in with these cartoon characters?
So we literally did scans of these actors. And then we captured their motions and we married the motions to those 3D scans. So those very actors that we scanned, we married their actions. Most of the time it was the very actor's action. Sometimes we had to do some fixes on their performances. So we'd go in and either I or another, stand-in actor would act out the performance, and we just marry it to the 3D model. And then that 3D model would be in motion.
Okay, but now I'm confused. Motion capture, I understand. Creating a 3D world, I understand. But what's the difference between what you created and, say, any 3D animated feature film that we see in the theaters today?
It's essentially a similar technology. The incredible thing that we were able to do was how economically we were able to put it together. And this is because really we used some really low-cost technologies to scan the actors, to scan the models, to create the models. It was using an iPad and a couple of different software applications. And the motion capture was iPiSoft, which was really PlayStation cameras and their software package, very affordable. So what we found was magical about it was how we could do it ourselves. You know, we didn't have to go to a studio where we had to pay $20,000 a day, to do the motion capture and to do the scans. We could in fact do it in a way that the client, the port, could afford. We're not talking about a Hollywood movie. We're not talking about a AAA game. We're talking about a historic site, and so it's a different kind of business model. And it's these technologies like iPiSoft that really make it possible to execute this kind of, experience.
So this is all CGI. This is not getting a rig with 10 cameras on it and taking it out to the field and putting real actors in the field and later on putting buildings and things around. Otherwise, that would have cost $1 billion, right?
Absolutely. This is CGI, pure interactive CGI.
Yeah. I love the idea. I love the business model. It's no, it's actually really cool because
Thank you.
We're all looking for those business models, and right now the only people making money are the gamers.
Well, this is what virtual reality opens for us, and is really the opportunity to create experiences that aren't hardcore games, that are interactive, that change and involve your participation as a user, but can tell stories, that are time-limited art forms that. The world is opening up in terms of what we can create. Are you
using the phone and Google Cardboard for the experience or something else?
Absolutely. It's really all we're using is a Nexus 6 phone and a hard case of a Google Cardboard. We built it for cardboard, but we're also using our own proprietary software package, our platform that we built. That delivers the experience, and inside it is some significant computer vision algorithms.
Could you define what Google Cardboard is?
Google Cardboard is, for those of us who are old enough, which would mean all of us, if we remember the Viewmaster from way back when, where you look through a little case and you see kaleidoscopic images or slides and you can scroll through them. Well, essentially, the Google Cardboard is the same. Instead of slides, you open up the front and you put your phone in and you close it back up. And when you look through, you see this, the screen of the phone as in a completely immersive way. It's like you're inside a video game, inside a 3D world.
The people that are using this device who are walking around the park, is there a sign that says put your headset on, or is it an audio prompt, or what?
It's an audio prompt. You'll see that they're wearing headphones. So there's a voice, a companion who's kind of taking you through the site and telling you stories. And it says, when you get to a spot, when you arrive at a spot, he'll know that you're there, because that's what it means when we say it's location aware. He'll know that you're there, and he'll say, look through your device.
Any problems with motion sickness?
None. I mean, we did a pretty good job. We spent quite a couple of years actually developing the underlying technology before we did this project. We have a substantial research collaboration with some scientists at a couple of different universities in the Toronto area, Ryerson University and UOIT. And so we were working with them to solve some of these problems.
Cool.
It's been a long journey.
Mike and I got into a heated debate in the green room before the show went on, and I'm really curious, after this experience, can we really tell narrative, dramatic stories using VR? Can you control where the audience is looking well enough, or is it really designed more for feel the environment and go back 200 years in time?
You can do both. Okay, and in this experience at Fort York, you'll find both kinds of experiences. Each experience lasts about 2 minutes, not more than that, because remember, you have to hold it in front of your face. It's not strapped to your head, which would be completely, dangerous to walk around with that thing strapped to your head. So, you wear it around your neck like some binoculars, and when you get to a spot, you look through. So we found that we couldn't really make it longer than 2 minutes because people get tired holding it to their face. And it's an optimal amount of time. Some of these experiences, for example, you see what it looked like before European settlement. It was a beautiful oak forest, and where there's now railway tracks, there used to be a river. And so it's an environmental scene, and you're encouraged to look around. Other scenes are really very dramatic. Like there's a battle scene where there's people firing cannons, and at the end, there's an explosion, and they get killed. So that's really focuses your attention very powerfully. And we find that what makes it so immersive is sound. And what focuses your attention is also sound.
Right.
That where sound comes from is where you tend to look.
But that tends to be kind of spatial audio, which is a whole different kind of thing with 3D and 360 spherical filmmaking. And
it is. It's a very powerful tool.
Before we wrap up, because we're almost out of time, when does this launch and when can the public get their hands on this?
It launches in May of 2016 to the public. We ran it, previews throughout the fall. It was phenomenal response to it. Just phenomenal. All, scores in the 90s. So we're very excited about it. And, it's launching in May. People can find out more about it if they go to our website, augcompany.com, or to our Facebook page, where there's always postings, facebook.com/augcompany.
And
I love this idea.
The website is AWECOMPANY, augcompany.com, all one word. Srinivas, whose first name I've been practicing all day to pronounce.
Perfectly.
Don't say that, it'll screw it up at the end. Srinivas Krishna is the founder and CEO of Our Company. Srinivas, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from The Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching The Digital Production Buzz.